BM8 Unfiltered. 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 BM8 Unfiltered.
13th August 2026, the big day. 5 years in the waiting. And the biggest question that you have is who is going to lead this particular country? Who has my interests? Who wants me to prosper? Who wants you and me to move forward? And that's the biggest question that we've been asking ourselves, and we continue to ask ourselves. Welcome to BM8 Unfiltered. My name is Buchizia, and of course on this particular program I sit down with Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is 2026 aspirant, and we ask those particular questions that are difficult, the ones that have been burning on your heart. If you want to ask that particular question, please leave it in the comment section and we can have that particular discussion. He will answer those particular questions live on air, unfiltered, uncensored, and straight from his heart to yours. This is BM8 Unfiltered. Welcome, Honorable. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you, Buchi. I'm happy to be here.
How's been the week for you? How are you doing, especially that we heard of the bereavement of your mother-in-law, Mrs. Mvula, and that the Bemba Kingdom lost the Queen. And how are you faring with this?
We're trying to recover from that. It was a very difficult week. It's been a difficult week. We buried my mother-in-law yesterday, And I think it's only proper and in order that I use this occasion to express my gratitude to all those that came to support us, both morally and materially, when putting my mother-in-law to rest. In particular, I'd like to thank all members of parliament that were with us as a family throughout the 4 days that we were mourning. I also want to thank members of Central Committee from the Patriotic Front and indeed members of the Tonse Alliance that came through. I should also thank my dear brother, Grayford Monde and Makebi Zulu, who also came to mourn with us during this very difficult time. So it's been a very tough week. I thank God that He gave us the strength to navigate through this very difficult period. And of course, like you rightly put it, abasano aba chitimukulu nabo bali tusha mo accident a few days ago. I had chance to speak to Mwine Lubemba on phone a day he was leaving for Kasama. He happened to be in Lusaka to express our sincere condolences and sympathies. Mukwaichagulanda sana ifwenga abana ba Lubemba kabili okumfa okuti bakanabe sana kabili bakitimukulu balufya abasano tapapitira nshita yopo bakanabe sabalofeshe abana bakonkenefye kanshi mkwai kubalombela kufye ipalo kulilesa okuti abatangirire muri nshita balepita mfyakosa. That's what I thought I should just say to.
Now we pray for the comforting mercies of our Lord to you and also to the Chitimokulu. Now, let's get to our main discussion. It's been a very eventful week for you.
That's right.
13th August is just around the corner, and you've had all hands on deck and moving straight into aiming for 2026. You have just filed in your nomination papers for the position of chairperson and 2026 presidential candidate under the Tonse Alliance. Explain this to the Zambians and what this move really means for you.
Well, Tonse is holding its Congress on the 31st of January to choose a chairperson for Tonse. This follows the death of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, who passed away in South Africa on the 5th of June 2025. So Tonse has decided to hold its Congress to choose the new chairperson on the 31st of January. Today was nomination day, and I think that it's also important to give a brief background to Tonse so that people fully understand. I've been a member or a leader in the Council of Leaders for Tonse from inception. President Edgar Chagwa Lungu appointed me to be the national chairperson for parliamentary affairs under Tonse. I head a committee where we are together with State Council Chifu Mbanda, who deputizes me in that regard. We've been managing parliamentary affairs for Tonse from inception. So I'm in the Council of Leaders. So this time around, I have now decided to contest the position of the chairperson for Tonse. So those are the nominations that you saw today.
Interesting. There's been talk of the SPV, and last time you and me spoke, we spoke about what this SPV is. Is this the special purpose vehicle that is going to see you go into the 2026 general elections?
Tonse, no, not entirely. Tonse is an umbrella. Tonse has a number of political parties as its members. So Tonse per se, yes, it is a special purpose vehicle as an umbrella, but not as a political party that will field a flag bearer. Once a chairperson is chosen, elected on 31st of January, the Council of Leaders will sit now to agree on the special purpose vehicle that will be used to present a candidate, a presidential candidate in 2026. So, yes and no. Yes, Tonse is an umbrella. This is a vehicle through which I truly believe political parties in Zambia, opposition political parties in Zambia will come together. I believe so because this was the idea that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu had. From the beginning, he was very clear when he said, I'm coming back to active politics to bring back all opposition political parties. And the vehicle that he was to use to bring opposition political parties was Tonse. So I believe in Tonse, and I believe that Tonse will answer the big question that everybody's been asking. When are the opposition political parties going to come together? So opposition political parties will come together through Tonse.
I love that you've mentioned that it's an umbrella of different, an umbrella for different political parties which will come under this particular alliance. Why do you think you're the right person to lead this particular alliance?
Well, of course, like I said in the beginning, I've been a leader of Tonse and the Council of Leaders from inception. I fully understand the vision of Tonse and how Tonse was created and for what purpose. So, looking at the experience that I've had in Parliament, in government, both in Parliament as government chief whip and in the opposition as leader of opposition, you'll be happy to learn from me, Buchi, that as government chief whip, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu had appointed me to chair a committee that was in charge of putting opposition political parties together. This was the time that we were negotiating or having dialogue over constitutional amendments. So I chaired that committee and interacted with all opposition political parties, with no exception, including the current ruling party. It was my committee under my chairmanship that was putting these opposition political parties together for over a year. So I've got a fair, some good rapport with most of these opposition political parties. So I truly believe that from the experience that I've had in different capacities, be it in the opposition or in the ruling party, and indeed the interactions that I've had at individual level with all these opposition political parties, I feel I'm the right man to lead Tonse.
Do you believe that Tonse is the vehicle that's going to lead us into development as a country, especially when we're looking at the many questions that we have around education, around infrastructure development and all these things? Do you think Tonse is the answer to development?
I truly believe that Tonse will be that answer that the Zambian people have been waiting for. If I get the chairmanship of Tonse, I'll be able to put together great minds. I've already looked through the people that are in Tonse under different political parties. We'll be able to bring about different skills, put them together to deliver the development that Zambian people are looking for. When you look at where we've been, maybe the past couple of years, our developmental agenda has not been structured in that it's not based on anything. You may wonder what I'm talking about. Development is supposed to be structured. Development should be based on some developmental plan. Up to 2021, development was based on the 7th National Development Plan. The successor plan to that was the 8th National Development Plan. You will agree with me that I don't think you've heard from any minister today referring or having recourse to the 8th National Development Plan. So the development has been haphazard. I believe that through Tonse, putting the great minds together and giving proper direction, proper leadership, we will be able to deliver the much needed development to this country.
The big question now, which is now the head of state, who has been away for some time, and he's returned to Lusaka, and he will be back to base. And during this particular period when he's been away, a few things have happened. We faced a crisis around flooding in certain parts of the country. There's been the discussion around farmers receiving their monies from FRA, and there's so much more that I could speak to. But as the president goes back to his office, what advice do you have for him? What should be his P1 as he steps back from his time away?
I want to be very straight, and to start with, the president overstayed. I think his leave or holiday was too long. given that the people of Zambia, especially the farmers and other citizens, were going through a difficult time. A president is there to serve the people of Zambia, such that, yes, it's a given. He's a human being. He can take a rest. He can take a break. But when there's a crisis, we expect him to cut short his leave and come and attend to the crisis that the country is faced with. So when you look at the payment to the farmers, there was an undertaking from government that farmers should have been paid by the 10th of January. This is 2 weeks later. Farmers are still sleeping on queues. I was in Kasama last week. It was a sorry sight. One would wonder how these people are surviving. They've been there for a couple of weeks and languishing in corridors, out there on the street. One would have expected that the president, being a farmer himself, if his farm is performing well, which from the pictures it is, he should have been very worried about the other farmers, especially the peasant farmers. He is a privileged farmer. He should have taken interest to ensure that these farmers are paid. We have flood victims and many other challenges that the country is facing. So really, one wondered why the president stayed away for that long. It should not have happened in the first place. It's good that he's come back, and I hope that he'll quickly get on to work to ensure that by tomorrow, before Monday, all the farmers will be paid. Banks should be encouraged to work right through the weekend to ensure that these farmers are actually paid. Buchi, this has been 6 months, going to 7 months, and farmers have not been paid. I really wonder how the harvest for this year is going to be, because most of these have actually been disadvantaged. They're away from home, and they've been unable to carry on their activities as they usually would do.
Maybe just explain what you think the bottleneck has been with regards to the payment of farmers for this particular farming season, just generally. How do you think the best approach to ensure that money comes on time as soon as supply is done to FRA?
Yes, Puchi, like I said last time, failing to plan is planning to fail. That's exactly what government did. Yes, they were in a hurry to get the maize. They should have first of all anticipated that there would be a bumper harvest. We've been in government before. These figures are given to you way before the harvest period. So if at that point government decided they were going to buy all the maize, they should have planned for it. Planning for it would mean making sure that they've got enough money to buy the maize. So in this particular case, it's clear that government did not have any plan for these farmers. Yeah, so going forward, it's a question of you have to look at it holistically. You can't go through this using shortcuts. For instance, let's look at you have new ministries like Small and Medium Enterprises Ministry. Very good ministry, very good initiative. But we can't maximize benefit from that initiative because it was not looked at to the end. You've got to plan to the end. If you looked at those small-scale farmers and placed them under that ministry, there is need to create a bank. There is need to create financial institutions that specifically service these small-scale farmers because they fall under the small and medium entrepreneurs. Yeah, so you've got to have a complete solution. If financial institutions like banks are deliberately set to support farmers in this particular case, you won't have a problem like that. So in resolving problems for government, you've got to plan to the end. You've got to do what you would call both forward and backward integration. You've got to possess the process and see it to the end. Then you solve some of these problems.
Interesting. You're watching BM8 Unfiltered with Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is 2026 aspirant for presidency, and our discussion is solely based on the issues that are affecting you. And that's why we're asking you to send through your questions, contributions, through WhatsApp, through voice notes. Send them now so that he can actually be able to answer those particular burning questions that you've had. What's the purpose of this? So that you can learn a little bit more about the candidate that is going to put himself forward to lead this particular country. Now, a big announcement was made this particular week. Mulungushi Textiles is back in Kawe, and it looks like it's back to life, and works will commence there. What is your feeling around this particular development?
By the way, it's the third time that announcement is coming in the past 5 years, just to remind you. Well, if it does come, it will be a good idea. It will be good for the people of Kabwe. We hope that it's not yet another story. This has happened before, I think 2 years ago, that big announcement came. The minister was all over. We had pictures of ministers visiting the plant. A couple of containers had arrived. When they opened them, of course, they discovered only part of the equipment that come. So I hope that this time around it will happen, because colleagues in government today, whatever they say, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. Now, like I said before, you've got to plan to the end. I'm hoping that even as they're announcing the opening of this particular plant, we've got to understand this particular sector, this particular industry holistically. The idea or the design of this particular industry was that there is some support given to farmers who are growing the raw material that would be utilized by this particular plant. So the question is, yes, you're about to switch on the plant. What's the position of the farmers? Are these farmers part of the farmers who are yet to be paid to go and grow their cotton? Or is there a deliberate plan by government today that is supporting cotton farmers that will be feeding into this particular plant? Because this plant alone will not absorb so many numbers in terms of employment. But if you create a value chain, then you will have employed people at the farming stage, transporters will be employed along the way, and you will have a complete value chain. So I really hope that government is going in with a complete solution, not just to go and switch on the plant and then import the raw material, will not maximize benefit from this particular industry.
Interesting submission there, Honorable. Let's talk about the aftermath of the Chawama by-election, where we saw an ECZ officer who took Honorable Miles Sampa to the police for a Facebook post on polling stations and the like. He was detained for about 24 hours, and now he's out. What do you make of this as far as the ECZ ensuring that they build trust in the general populace as we approach the 2026 general elections?
But you must understand that in times of extremity, politicians make political statements. I remember very well that President Hakainde Hichilema was in the habit of making similar statements during elections. And the government then would take them as political statements. In his case, he would make these false statements without even retracting them. In the case of Mao Sampa, he actually apologized and retracted. So you realize that ECZ is positioning itself to begin to intimidate stakeholders along the way. That was totally unnecessary. Mao Sampa went back using the same platform he had used earlier to talk about that tent, and tendered his apologies to the nation, that he had misled the nation based on the information that he had received. So one really wonders what ECZ was trying to achieve. But your guess will be as good as mine. They are trying to come in forcefully to intimidate stakeholders, so that even when we have seen some malpractice, people don't speak, people don't talk for fear of being arrested. That's what they're trying to do. We have seen a number of wrong things happen without ECZ acting. We've been to elections, for instance, I'll give you an example. When Kawambwa, when Comrade Sean Tembo was stabbed right at the police station, there was a lot of violence in that particular election. That was in Kawambwa. But ECZ did nothing. Neither did they disqualify the perpetrators of that violence. So how is it that against the opposition, they're acting very quickly, they're acting very swiftly? If you see, the ECZ should strictly apply the Electoral Act, in which case would have expected them to nullify a number of elections on account of violence and other malpractices. As I speak to you, if you go to Kasama, non-political parties are busy buying off voters' cards and NRCs. They're distributing food during these campaigns to voters. And ECZ is quiet. ECZ is watching all this and they're quiet. But in the case of Comrade Mao Sampa, they moved very swiftly and ensured that he went behind bars. I want to implore ECZ that we expect more from them. We expect them to be impartial. Not only should they be impartial, but be seen to be impartial. Impartiality is not enough in this particular case. You must be seen to be impartial. So if other political parties, including the UPND that is in power, is committing electoral offences, we expect ECZ to step in and act. They should not only act when it involves members of the opposition. So the case involving Mao Sampa was indeed very unfortunate because he had gone out to apologize. He had gone back to retract what he had said. Yes.
Interesting. Remember, you are part of this particular show as much as possible. You're sending us those particular contributions in the comment section. This is an opportunity for you to know Honorable Brian Mundubile. And he has put himself forward to say, look, let's be unfiltered. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can, pave a new way forward for the country as we head into the 2026 general election. You are encouraged to share those particular comments in the comment section or use the number that's on the screen, and as well as send us those particular voice notes or videos that you have those particular burning questions, and you'll be able to respond to that. Now, we spoke some time back about the mayoral elections coming up in Kasama. What kind of atmosphere do you hope to see as we head into those particular elections?
Well, of course, we've received reports that UPND has started transporting party cadres into Kasama from different areas. And this should really be discouraged and frowned upon. Because if UPND has members in Kasama, it has its youths, whatever you want to call them, whether you want to call them security. By now, they've been in power for the past 4 years. I expect that they should have grown their membership even in their non-strongholds to be able to get people from within Kasama to marshal this particular election. They're transporting cadres from all over the country into Kasama. The question is, for what reason? So, as at the time I was leaving a few days ago, the atmosphere was very good. We, of course, are commanding a lot of support within Kasama, both Kasama Central and Lukasha. The people of Kasama are very clear. The message is very clear. They are simply saying, Batu chusha pafula. Batu vepa pafula. Apanomba tuwe balanga. Wanensu kuchawama, they've taken the lead. Nefo intwala konkapo. So, my call to the UPND Secretary General, including the UPND President, is that can peace prevail in Kasama? We went for elections in Kawambwa. There was no peace in Kawambwa. There was a lot of violence in Kawambwa. Starting with the mayoral election in Kawambwa, there was violence. There was violence for Kawambwa Central Parliamentary. This is the election where Comrade Sean Tembo, Peter Chanda, Nachilima, Messi, Namakau, were all beaten up in full view of the police. We were there. Others lost their phones through that violence. Would have expected ECZ to act. They did not act. Came the Pambashi elections. There was violence in the Pambashi elections. There was violence in the Lukutu ward election. There was violence in the Kapanda ward election within the Northern Province. So we've seen violence being tolerated by the ECZ. We expect that they will step up. We're in the election year. We need to create an atmosphere where political parties and stakeholders can participate in elections freely. So I'll go back to ECZ acting swiftly on Comrade Mao Sampa and playing a blind eye to acts of violence that have occurred in some of these elections that I've pointed out. And I'm talking about them because I've physically been there. So we expect an atmosphere to be created where, with the lost confidence that we have in ECZ, they can begin to build it slowly as we head towards the election. So there are a number of cadres that have been transported into Kasama, and we're hoping that it's not for bad reasons.
There's another big debate around the so-called illegal mining or illegal miners that is currently going on in the Copper Belt, as well as parts of northwestern provinces. If elected into office, how do you intend to handle this particular, or basically how are you going to approach this particular discussion around illegal mining. What's your plan? How are you going to do it?
Yes, the problem of illegal mining requires a leader, first of all, who cares for the Zambian people, a leader who cares for the youths, a leader who cares for the abandoned, the forgotten. Those youths, when you go to where they're mining, then you realize that they're in a very desperate situation to make ends meet. So it requires a leader who first of all cares for the Zambian people, a leader who cares for the youths. What we need there are solutions, very basic solutions. The basic solutions would include mapping out the areas where there's resource, taking a census to understand how many people are actually doing activities there, put them in clusters, take them under incubation, begin to teach them, run them through short clinics on safe mining, financial management, and other environmental issues. They should be graduating from there 6 weeks later on sponsored programs. 6 weeks later, they are graduating from there with some basic knowledge of how to mine safely. As they are coming out of there, a caring government should be on the other side with mining licenses for these cooperatives, with some basic equipment. Also, linking them up to aggregators, people who are going to take up whatever they're producing. It sounds simple, but it's as simple as that. First of all, it's a political will to be able to do this. Is there a resource there? Yes, there's a resource there. What are we trying to resolve? First of all, a government is there to care for its people. So it's looking at this number of people that are here to make a living. They've discovered some resource on their own. Government simply goes in to help them achieve their objectives. But when government is interested in business, government is going to use force to remove those and later introduce other people to take up that particular area for mining activities. So instead of prioritizing business, government should prioritize assistance and support to its citizens. So it's difficult now because those that are in government are not interested in helping those people that are mining illegally, that are suffering there. They're interested in the very resource that these youths are fighting for. So they're going to move in there, they're going to use force, remove them, and before you realize it, there'll be big announcements all over to say, oh, we have this big investor, he's come now to pick up all the gold that there is, and you take away the gold, and you pay some tax to Comrade Msokotwane, and they'll celebrate that. That is wrong. That is wrong. A government must care for its people. So it's not a very difficult problem. It's just exaggerated. It's exaggerated. There are all these big stories around it so that they create it in people's minds. That's a big problem. It's actually a very simple problem to deal with.
Honorable, but when we discuss the discussion, when we go deep into the discussion around mining from time immemorial, it's always been that we need investment from outside in order for us to really get the best out of those particular resources, because maybe we don't have the machinery and the people that are going into those particular pits to work with their hands, they might not fully get the resources, or they might just be endangering their lives without really having that particular benefit from those resources trickle down to every citizen around the country.
You're correct, Pucci. So if that is a problem, government is there to offer solutions. What would be the solution? If the problem is equipment, government should provide some basic equipment. If the problem is safety, government should be there to train those youths on safe mining. If the problem are markets, government is there to organize aggregators. So when the type of mining we're talking about should be differentiated from large-scale mining, where you're mining copper, you need all that equipment. In this particular case, these illegal miners are using handheld tools, and they're managing to come out with some produce, some grams of gold, as it were. So government should capitalize on that particular initiative and just help these people that have suffered for so long.
Interesting. You're still watching BM8 Unfiltered, and we'll be taking a break. But when we do come back, we'll be answering all the questions that you've been posting on our socials. So if you haven't put up your question, your question yet, please put it in the comment section, and we'll be able to read it out. And Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is the 2026 aspirant, will be able to respond to those particular questions. You can also send us voice notes, and we'll be able to put them up as we continue. What is the purpose of this particular program in case you're coming across it for the very first time? This is so that you can answer those burning questions. Who is the right candidate for 2026? Why him? And does he have my interests at heart? Those particular questions are what he's answering here. So put those particular questions in the comment section. It's BM8 Unfiltered. My name is Buchi, or Buchizia, and we'll be coming back with more answering your questions with Honorable Brian Mundubile. Stay tuned.
Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want. Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want. Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want. Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want. Hello.
Welcome back, and you're watching BM8 Unfiltered, where we discuss with Honorable Brian Mundubile the way forward for this our beloved mother Zambia. The big questions that you have, You've posted them in the comment section, and you've been posting them as the program has continued. And now we answer those particular questions that you've put forward. Continue sending those particular questions, and they will be answered. Remember, this program is not for me and him. It's for you and him, so that you can get to learn a little bit more about him, and you can have those particular questions answered. Let's get started. Emmanuel Nsofwa puts up a question. He says, have you done proper political calculations before taking the bold decision you have made today? Don't you foresee the Lubinda-led PF fighting you, thereby weakening you politically? That's one of the questions that has come through. This one is from Felix Sunga, who says that our incoming Republican president, tell the nation how you help the Zambian citizens in terms of electricity and the high cost of living that we are currently experiencing. I think you can respond to those two, and then I will be taking a lot more of those particular questions. Keep them coming as the Honorable Brian Mundubile responds.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Buchi. I want to put this very clearly. I'm a leader in Tonse, okay? In the Tonse Council of Leaders. I'm one of the leaders in the Tonse Council of Leaders, and I have been. All I'm doing is to vie for a position within that council higher than where I am. All right, so people should not mistake my contesting of chairmanship to quitting PF. I've been in Tonse. President Lungu appointed me to Tonse. I've been in Tonse. So if I was PF as a national chairperson for Tonse, I still am PF. It should be understood. So as regards who may fight or not fight me, that's not for me to answer. I think the Zambians are very tired of the fights within the political space. It's always that politician reconciling with the other now, or having tea, a quarrel yesterday, and so on. Let it be about the Zambian people. Now it's about the Zambian people. The farmers that have been waiting for their payment for 7 months, have been waiting for us to fight for them. The kids who are going to school, sitting in one class, 120 of them, are waiting for us to speak for them. The taxi drivers, the bus drivers, who are paying 30 kwacha per litre, are expecting us to speak for them. The people who are experiencing load shedding and high cost of living are expecting us to speak for them. So it can't be about politicians themselves. It's about the Zambian people. So we want to put the fights behind. What Tonse needs a leader. Tonse needs a chairman, because the chairman for Tonse, President Lungu, died a couple of months ago. There is need to replace the chairman with a substantive chair. And what we are doing, we are not going through any negotiated process. We're going through a democratic process. I had a meeting with one of the contenders, Professor Danpol. We agreed to say, look, we're going for this position. I told him, if you win, I'm going to support you as chairman. He equally said, if I win that position, he's going to support me. And that is democracy. That's the democracy that we fought for. So to answer and so forth, I think even for you, so we are tired of politicians fighting. You know, we are not there to save you. It should not be headlines every day, politicians reconciling and then fighting again and so on and so forth. We have to take a step to begin to serve the Zambian people, both in opposition and in the ruling party. Yeah, so I want you, so far, to be tired of politicians fighting. I want you to demand that politicians should start saving you, so that some of the challenges we're going through should be a thing of the past. The other question was on electricity and fuel.
Yeah.
Yes, these two are the fuel of the economy. With low prices of fuel and low prices of electricity, the cost of production goes down, and it has an impact on goods and services going forward. You know very well that the cost of fuel, the high cost of fuel, was actually very artificial, because the UPND government had decided to give the pipeline to one of their friends who started importing fuel and selling fuel at a premium. This extra cost was passed on to the Zambian people, and we've been going through this. So a clear and transparent procurement process of fuel is what we're going to embark on under my leadership, to ensure that the benefits and the savings from that transparent process are passed on to the consumers. This will automatically bring down the cost of fuel. Secondly, like I've said before, we are looking at the tax regime within the mining sector. One, we have to improve the net benefit to the nation from the mining sector. I strongly feel that what we're getting so far, we're getting peanuts from the mining sector. If you look at what is going on there and the level of export and production to what we're getting, we certainly need to look at a win-win situation. We want to encourage investors. We like investors. But at the same time, we must understand that that resource belongs to the Zambian people. So there must be some benefit to the country, some meaningful benefit to the country going forward. So if we improve our revenues in the mining sector, it will help us to bring down the exchange rates. And that will equally have an impact on the cost of fuel, cost of electricity, and many other things. So in brief, that's how the cost of goods and services can be brought down.
You're still sending those particular comments or questions on in the comment section, and I will be able to read them out. Maxon Mokupa says, what are your plans for us, the youths, who are willing to work with you?
Yes, these are my main clients. The most important solution, like I've said before, for the youths, you see, you need to understand youths. Youths have solutions to their problems. All that we need is the political will to include them in the governance system, to put them strategically in the positions where they're able to make decisions. So the Ministry of Youth cuts across all sectors. You'll have youths in mining, youths in agriculture, youths in education, youths in health. It's right across the sectors. Now, once you position the youths as agents for change and give them the opportunities that they need, create an environment through which they can make decisions, I believe going forward, the youth will be able to change our economy, they'll be able to change our country. So the plans that I have for you, for instance, is to have the Ministry of Youth working very closely with State House. You've seen that in many cases, when there's been a crisis, like we have a crisis with the youths now, there's been a crisis on cholera and many other things. State House moves in. This is to ensure that decisions are made quickly. There's a focus in that particular area, and everybody is kept on their toes to ensure that we find solutions. We earlier talked about illegal mining. We're talking about youths. In all these other sectors, we're talking about youths. So this presidency will work very closely with the Ministry of Youths to ensure that we put youths first in positions where they can make decisions, supervised very closely by State House. We'll be able to get the best out of the youths to resolve their own challenges.
Ngombola Chibesakunda puts up one very important question. She says, hello, Your Excellency. What is your stance on tribalism?
Oh, I love tribalism. I detest it. Tribalism should have no place in our country. Tribalism should have no place in our country. As a leader, my first assignment will be to unite the country. Unite the country not just through rhetoric, but using practical measures. Practical measures will include ensuring that certain positions in the executive, like district commissioner, a person who hails from Mbala should be a district commissioner in Wengwa. Very deliberate. We put them right across the country for them to appreciate, because the person from Mbala must be able to appreciate the culture of the people in Wengwa. The person from Wengwa working in Sengahi or Mpulungu must be able to appreciate the culture of the people that live there. So with time, we'll begin to know and believe in the One Zambia, One Nation motto. This is what President Kaunda did. I grew up in a political home. My father was UNIP. I can tell you, Buchi, that I started my grade 1 in Solwezi. During my primary school, I also went to Zambezi. I've been to Zambezi. I also went to school in Kabompo. Okay, my older brothers and the rest, I had even been to school in Mpika, Chilonga, Chinsali. So Kaunda would ensure that he took the civil servants round for one reason. We may not have appreciated it at that time. So these are some of the practical measures that you want to put in place to ensure that we truly believe in the one Zambia, one nation. You know what has happened now, Buchi? Just to answer his question. It first of all started with, no, you can't stand in Northern Province because you come from Northwestern. So it reduced from province to district. So now it's down to the chiefdom. Teteminine kwa shibuali kapila va wishwaf makwa chitoshi. That's where it is now. It's a very dangerous. A person comes from Lunte. He wants to stand in Lunte as maybe a councillor in Chitoshi area. People begin to maybe not even a councillor. He comes from Mporokoso, for instance, and I go to stand in Lunte. People be saying on Afmakum Mporokoso, but at one point Lunte and Mporokoso in one district. So for councillors now, it's down to chiefdoms. So why? Because we've allowed it. We've allowed this tribalism. And like I've said before, Buchi, it's the first time in Zambia's history that citizens have been overly conscious about their ethnicity. Now when you meet somebody on the plane, on the bus, the first thing you ask, what's your name? My name is Buchizia. Buchizia who? They give you the surname, you go further. Where do you come from? That never used to happen. That never used to happen. I was just saying it on a radio interview the other day. I was actually shocked when I was mentioning the people that I've grown up with, those who've been my friends for the past 40 years. Can you imagine that out of 10 names, I realized that only 2 were from Northern Province? But these are my very good friends to date. Are you with me? I had never thought about what tribe they were until the day I was asked a question like you've done on this interview. And I said, wow, this is how beautiful Zambia was. And this is my background. Do you know that I come from Northern Province? My best friends the past 40 years have been Lozis and Tongas. Today they're my friends. If you ask me, people that I played with in the 80s, they're predominantly Tonga and Lozi. And they're still alive. I was with them yesterday at the graveyard. They came over to my mother-in-law's funeral. And I'm very proud that this is how we've been able to live. So to answer your question, the issue of tribalism has got to be tackled very decisively with practical measures, not mere rhetoric, like we've seen President Hakainde Hichilema do in the recent past.
So I love the submission that you've made, but I'll speak to the young people. They were the ones that are in their 20s, in their 21s. Most of them are saying, look, we are not tribal at all. We don't know about this tribalism. We hang out with this one. We spend time with this one, and it really doesn't affect us much. And they're saying maybe this particular tribalism only exists in the political sphere. Well, how do you feel about that particular position?
Do you know that was the position previously? I've been very disturbed of late. Young girls, young boys coming from school and talking about tribe. I'm being very serious about it. Your generation, yes, survived it because we never lived on account of regionalism or where we came from. We're merely Zambians. What has happened in the past 4 years should not be ignored. You're talking to a 10-year-old. They're talking about tribe. So if what you're saying is what it was, we'd want to preserve that. Unfortunately, it's slowly slipping through our fingers. We need to arrest it. We need to stop it and preach unity indeed and not just in word.
Interesting. Remember, those particular comments are coming through live, and he's answering the questions unfiltered here on BM8 as we continue discussing with Honorable Brian Mundubile, who is 2026 political aspirant for presidency. Now, one other question that has come through from Maxon Mukupa. He says, in this country, you leaders have the ability to be given work outside the country, and because of that, all you want from us is a vote. So basically, he's talking that, look, the problems of this country don't really affect you as politicians. 90% of you can get work outside this particular country, so you're not really affected by by the high cost of living, by high fuel. What is your response to that?
No, Maxon. In fact, Maxon, I want to encourage you. Citizens and leaders alike have a duty. The governors and the governed, they have a duty. So the same way you're engaging Maxon via Facebook, as citizens, you also have to raise the standard. You've got a duty, Buchi, to engage your leaders. What I've seen is that when you vote for your leaders, everybody lays back and wait for miracles. Leaders must be engaged at every stage. Leaders, the youths must come up, engage their leaders, call them, let them come to town hall meetings, sit, ask them the difficult questions. Even for the youths, for us to find solutions to the many problems the youths are facing, the youths must be engaging. Engage your MP, call him for a meeting, get 100, 150 youths in some auditorium, in some hall, engage in these active discussions. Sometimes your members of parliament, your leaders want to do something, but sometimes they may just not know what to do. And they may not have the opportunity to engage you, the youths that are affected, what they can do for you. So take advantage of this technology. You can even engage virtually. Engage your leaders virtually. So it's not so much about going to get work from outside. I love Zambia. I want to remain in Zambia, and I want to do something for my country. So forget about the qualifications. Forget about the capacity or ability to live outside the country. But at the end of the day, my family is here, my children are here, everybody is here. I want to be in this country. The best I can do is to improve this country, improve the living conditions of other Zambians within the country so that we can live happily together.
There is a WhatsApp number that is on the screen. Remember to send all the questions throughout the week. Send those particular questions and keep them coming so that when we sit down here, we've already tabled those particular questions and he can actually respond to them. Honorable Brian Mundubile can actually respond to them live here and unfiltered. So that particular WhatsApp number that's on the screen, you can send a video, you can send an audio, and we'll be able to respond to those. Another question that has come through from Joshua Mwanza. He says, young people have heard the promises about capacity building for decades, but what specific action will your presidency take to ensure that skills development, access to opportunities, and meaningful youth participation become a reality rather than just a slogan?
Yes, that's Joshua Mwanza. Joshua Mwanza, when you look at capacity, we've got to segregate it. We've got to put it in different layers. Let's start maybe with the lowest, where we're looking at skills. So the idea we have is that if you're coming for training under carpentry, we should be able to train you on this set of equipment. Upon graduating, because you're a cooperative, there's 20 of you from a particular area, we empower you with a similar machine that you were using during that particular period. We don't stop there because we're interested to know that your business grows and you're able to draw some livelihood out of that. We follow you right up to your constituency and ensure that we engage the local authority. We know that there's a fund under CDF where they're procuring desks and other pieces of furniture. So because you've been trained, deliberately trained, you should be given opportunities to make desks and supply. But to also go further, because you're not the only one. We're looking at this particular sector holistically. As a government, we come up with a policy where government furniture for government offices is locally procured. So we improve quality by ensuring that we train you sufficiently, help you acquire equipment that you need, and then ensure that government buys products from you. So if we've trained you good enough, we must also be able to trust the products that are coming from your enterprise. So once government gets interested in, for instance, getting furniture produced locally for Northern Province, for all government offices. We should be able to get furniture from factories owned by Zambian youths for Zambian offices. Now, there is no shortcut. Remember that you are training these particular youths. The Zambia Bureau of Standards even gets involved to certify their products. So they should be able to come up with products that are acceptable. So you cut down on imports of furniture from outside. You cut down on the transportation of this particular furniture. You train youths. You can start with provincial centers. Set up big factories there. Equip them like we left industrial yards. I'm not so sure what they're being used for. But you could actually equip these particular factories to be able to produce furniture even for government offices, as it were. Deliberately, we've got to be very deliberate about it. The moment you go that route, you have created a huge market for this particular furniture. You've actually created jobs at a local level. So that was Max Mukupa?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one way. I've just gone to the lowest before we go to the other layers that can improve the employment of youths through entrepreneurship.
This one is one of our final ones that he responds to, and it's coming through from John Tanner, who is saying, we now have a leader. Go BM8. Please tell your friends and family that we have an incoming president. Let us not waste time with people like Woluwinda, who only delayed our progress. The ground is clear and firmly behind Brian Mundubile. Just bring MK8. I know MB8 is a unifier. I think he meant to say BM8 is a unifier. Well, just as what's your response to this from John Tanner as we wrap up?
Yes, John Tanner, thank you very much for your support. I want to take advantage of that to thank all the people that are supporting BM8. My assurance to you is that through Tonse, we are going to unite the opposition. Zambians have been crying for far too long that the opposition need to unite. Practical steps have been taken by Tonse. We are not choosing a leader sitting on a table. We are competing. We're going to compete, and the council of leaders, the delegates who choose one from amongst ourselves. He will emerge as the chairperson for Tonse, and that leader will have a duty to immediately go beyond the membership of Tonse to look at other opposition political parties, like minds, to come together and be able to form a united opposition, be able to present a strong opposition. Tonse has been in existence. Tonse has got, for instance, myself as the national chairperson for parliamentary affairs, meaning that Tonse already has members of parliament that are under it. It has a number of council chairpersons, a number of councillors, and many other members put together. So we'll be able to present ourselves as a very strong opposition, be able to give checks and balances to the current government, and give them a good run in the 2026 elections.
Thank you very much for interacting with Honorable Brian Mundubile. And this particular program is designed for you to ask the burning questions, to interact with him, to know who he is, to really see him through as he approaches the 2026 general election. Remember, the election is a decision we make together to move forward as a country, to say, this is where we want to go, and this is how we are going to go there. And we can only do that together, and you can also share your views as we move forward. This is BM8 Unfiltered. My name is Buchizia, and I am the host. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you, Buchi. It's a pleasure. I look forward to meeting you again.
Stay tuned for more, and we get to have more conversations that are unfiltered. Stay tuned.
Hello, Zambia. My name is Brian Mundubile. As a leader, my duty is clear: to listen without fear, and to speak the truth without compromise, and to stand firmly with the people of this nation. Join me every Friday at 20 hours for BM8 Unfiltered. You can watch live on Facebook and YouTube. For too long, politicians have done all the talking without listening to you. I want to change that. I'm ready to listen. Whether in the village or in the city, I want to hear from you. Record a short 6-second video of your question or message and send it to the WhatsApp number below. And I'll be sure to answer it during the BM8 Unfiltered show on Friday. Tell me how you want
Hello.
BM8 Unfiltered.